Heads to the lines, who's up, who's down. We're crunching the numbers, calling the plays, talking all sports in a big time way. Yeah, yeah.
Welcome back to Spreadsheet Sports. It is March the 3rd, and we have 27 games today. So I really couldn't find a lot for us today. I only found 6 games worth really pulling apart and talking about in some of the possibilities this March. So obviously we are in March Madness territory. It's going to be a great ride, a great ride, a great ride. But before we dive into the show, as always, I definitely want to thank y'all for coming to the show, and I definitely want to thank those that have liked, commented, shared, or subscribed. You are greatly, greatly appreciated. You have no idea. The channel is growing, and the communication is flowing, and I just can't get enough of it. I do sometimes post on covers.com and get some communication from them as well as we are sharpening the knife. Man, this has been, it's been an interesting journey. I will tell you this though, on this journey, it has been interesting to dialogue with a variety of different people in this world, right? Because you have your spectators that just like literally like to watch the game. Then you have your speculators that are watching the game to understand the strategy of teams and they partake in betting. And then you have your money managers that are trying to get the analytics on behalf of their expertise and observation, right, for their client. And they don't want to advise him or her and put them in a scenario where they are possibly going to lose money. And then you have the gambler, the lunatic that will take information from anybody and the stars above in the universe, and so forth. So in all of that, right? Um, I get a chance to talk to all of them and had a conversation with someone in the industry about the previous show. And it was in regards to a data source, which I won't mention now since it's a since it is in fact a relative issue, then I won't relive it. Okay. But in regards to that independent resource that I reviewed and implemented, um, they have a legitimate concern. So we'll address it that way. It's a legitimate concern moving forward because I'm trying to create a show that's for everyone that's watching in a variety of different ways. So with that being said, I will take into account those type of sources. However, what did pop in my head was that I am going to do some episodes on different styles of selecting and gambling and prospecting on certain games for different sports. Because there's so many different techniques and there's so many different books that are out there, and there's so many books that some of you are not going to read, which is why I don't think it's a threat that independent resource I used on the last show was used. However, I don't know everything. And that's the other part of what I bring to this show. I have never said that I am the end all to be all. I have never said that I know more than anybody else. I have never said that I am a better prospector or observer of the game. I have never said that if you listen to me, you should listen to me, and I'm the only person you should listen to. I've never said any of that. I'm just a dummy on the internet talking about the games that I watch. That's it. And I'm a dummy that has come across some different formulas and different ways of looking at the game. Um, and I'm a dummy on the internet that is literally figured out different algorithms and implemented them into my spreadsheet for spreadsheet sports. Um, so let's put all of that out there on the table, and that way we clear all the air, right? I'm not the guy that's telling you that I'm the best to ever do it, because I'm not. I am somebody on the path of understanding prospecting better. And I am creating a community that has transparency that will allow all of us to grow. And that is, yes, and going to include other resources that will make us better. Um, but I won't talk about that other resource ever again. I will go and find other resources to help sharpen everybody's knife for this as well. But being that said, you guys just have no idea how I was beat up by like three vets in regards to that particular resource. And it's like, do you think that they would read that particular source? Like anybody can buy that source anywhere. So what's the big deal? But again, out of respect, we won't ever mention the name of that resource ever again, and we'll keep it moving and we'll keep getting better. Um, so let's dive into the games. I wanted to also talk about the recap of the last games and what I got right, what I got wrong. Most importantly, what I got wrong, because some people just think that you just be lying about what you got right and just saying, "Oh no, well I only got this right." I'm not playing any games with you. It's all transparency here. You'll see what I got right. You see what I got wrong. When I get things wrong, I make the adjustments so that I can fine tune my tools that I created from scratch. I'm not buying any of this stuff from anybody else. This is my stuff. I created it. So I use it in that particular way. And because it is mine, I can try to perfect it as I move forward. But let's dive into the recap. I hope you guys enjoy the show. We got six games to really look at under a microscope, and we will start there. Let's get to it. Now, as it pertains to this game, these listed games here, right? So this is the games from 2 days ago, and just wanted you guys to see what this looks like and how I do with my selections. That way, it's fully transparent. Like I mentioned, my formulas are literally from scratch. The only thing I do is I get the data raw, and at that point, my formulas and my algorithms and my scraping tools and also the augmented formulas from AI that are blended as well and created. Um, it gets me to this level of selection. Okay. Not buying this from nobody. I made this, and I stand on what I win and I stand on what I lose and what I get wrong and what I get right. But with this being said, um, this is what you're looking at. I mean, for the Clemson game, um, I got the points for the team right. I got the spread right, and also that's all I chose for that particular game. And the spreads over to the right. If you see a B beside it, then that's what that category is. Particular. Talking about Auburn, got that one right. Youngstown State didn't get the spread, but I did get the points. Furman, same thing, got points and the spread. Dartmouth. Um, so the list goes on. I mean, I'm not going to keep running my mouth talking about this particular recap, but this does show you my productivity and how bad or how good I am doing on my path to get better. But to get 6 to 7 money lines, that's decent. To get 10 of my 13 spread bets, that's decent. It's not great, but it's okay. Um, and to get 8 of the 13 team points, it's decent. It's not great. Great is about consistency, which I don't have yet. The dogs. I mean, those two, I got both of those. I call both of those. But I only got 2 of the 4 spread bets for the dogs, but I'm happy with that. Nothing that I would, you know, really pound on my chest about. It, I'm looking at the same games that everybody on here is looking at, right? And I'm really, like I always say, it comes down to where's the entertainment value and then where's the monetary value. If it is, in fact, the money line, or if it's, in fact, the spread, or if it's the team points, or as we dive into pro basketball, which I'll start giving you guys those shows, we'll talk about player props as well and how those particular plays look as well. But this is how I performed 2 nights ago. It was a good night for me. BYU came through as they always have. So far, so good for me. So shout out to BYU. Um, but yeah, this is what I got. This is how I did. And every show, I'm going to start out talking about this particular record that I have here. I have a longer record that talks about every bet that I've ever made. Maybe I'll show that to you guys one day because again, Spreadsheet Sports does football. They do college football, college basketball, pro football. I'm sorry, pro basketball. Um, MLB is up next. Oh man, I can't wait for baseball. Baseball was my cash cow last year. Um, but it's on the way back. But yeah, this is how I look. This is what went down. Let's move on to what's next. And let's see what we got. Now, as we dive in here with our entertainment value and money line games worth looking into. Again, that's an opinionated statement. I'm looking into these games because they just have something about them that leans more towards why I like them or why I think that they may have some value for us. Um, and these are money line only. Some of these are money line and spread, but we're only going to talk about these games from a money line perspective, okay? And we'll dive into two of these in more detail. But I'm thinking Jacksonville, Florida Gulf Coast, Bethune-Cookman, Northwestern State, in Idaho State. Okay. Again, we'll dive into it a little bit more deeply for two of the games that I pulled out, but I just like these games for multiple reasons. If you've been watching the show, you know how I pick a game, whether it starts at how they do it home or on the road, what their makeup is of their upperclassmen, and then as well is going to be how they have performed in the last 3 of the last 5 games. So, with all of that being said, and it's the categories of how I select them in regards to how they're doing with rebound, assists, points, shooting percentage, 3-pound percentage, turnovers, all of the above. Coaching is also a factor. So, as you're looking at these games, all of these things are taken into effect, and that's how I'm choosing them as a so called winner. Okay. Kind of that scenario where I'm showing you how the sausage is made, right? It's up to you to do this on your own, right? And some of you will, some of you won't for whatever reason, right? You're too busy or it's just more convenient or whatever the case may be. But this is just how I do it. And it provides an opportunity for us to have a better conversation in the comments. And in that way, we can talk about why you think that this game may not go this way or why you think that this is a completely wrong observation from me. I'm open to all of those scenarios. Okay. But I'm just showing you how I see the game possibly to unfold, okay? Um, but this is what I think, but we'll dive into, like I said, a little bit more in depth with two of the games, and then that way we can see what's alive. But these games also, I mean, you got negative 148, negative 205, or minus 205, minus 148, minus 145, minus 285. Obviously, the Idaho State game at minus 285, I wouldn't take that. It's just not paying enough. I do think that anybody that's watching these games are going to see really great entertainment. But with that being said, um, maybe you add something on to the Idaho State game. I would definitely like adding on the team points, find and see if they have something that's around 70 points or 75 points for team points. And that probably be a little bit more productive for you. But, yeah, let's dive into the two games that I do have pulled aside and let's see what they have for us. I chose the Grambling and Bethune-Cookman at 7 o'clock, and I also chose the Eastern Kentucky and Jacksonville at 7 o'clock. Like I said, let's start from the beginning, right? Let's start at the beginning and talking about how they perform at home or on the road. Okay, 24%. of the games Grambling wins on the road, and they have only won one out of the three. For that reason, I'm already scared of Grambling. Right? They have a great mixture of upperclassmen, but I've just got to stay away from them for that reason. Whereas you have a Bethune Cookman that's coming in winning 75% of their games at home, 80% of their roster are seniors. And then on top of that, they won all the last three games. That's hard to argue with. And then you go into like how they're built, right? They're not coming into this game with any injuries. They are also coming in winning in the category of just the math, the data, the formulas behind all of this. It's not nobody just pulling these numbers out of the sky and like, oh yeah, I think they're going to score 72. No, there's a proprietary formula that allows me to see and calculate why I think they'll be 72 and why I think that they'll be 58% in regards to their winning percentage. That's a formula. There's another formula that tells me that they'll be 51%. There's another formula that tells me whether or not they'll hit the 4.5 or be plus 4.5, and so forth and so on. Right. The SWAC is a pretty good conference. I know they had the CIAA this past weekend, which was pretty entertaining. But back to this game, I just see Bethune Cookman. I like them because they have dominated a lot of the different categories, and for that reason, it's hard for me to not go with them. Okay. With the other game, Eastern Kentucky versus Jacksonville, it's kind of the same scenario. Eastern Kentucky is coming into this on the road, and they won 44% of their games on the road against a team, Jacksonville, that's winning 73% of their games at home, right? Also, Eastern Kentucky is one of three of the last three games. That's not making a good argument. 43% of their rosters are seniors, so the cohesiveness I'm concerned with. When they're playing against the Jacksonville team that has 58% of their roster are upperclassmen, and they won 67%, which is two of the three last games. Just that alone, and then they dominating in all the categories. Jacksonville definitely wins this game. Um, and they're paying decent money for this, minus 148. I don't see how you don't jump on minus 148 for this particular game. I mean, injuries for Jacksonville, Mr. Caporaso. Hope I didn't pronounce his name incorrectly. It's a senior, but he's probably been out for the whole entire season because he hasn't produced any points. So it's not like they have to replace any points that they're losing from his injury. And with that being said, Mr. Kimball, for Eastern Kentucky is producing 18 points, which is good. It's about a quarter of the percentage of points for the team. And then Mr. McCray is producing 22%, and that's their lead scorer, bringing them by 17 points. And you got two guards doing this, so I think they're going to move the ball around pretty well, do some really good assists. Jacksonville's going to do what they do. I think they ultimately come out to win, and because of the money lines that they have on this particular game for entertainment value, I think we'll get it because it's going to stay competitive. But that's what I see. I'd love to see in the comment section what you guys think about these two games. These are somewhat dogs. I do have two dogs for us at the very beginning, at the very end of this show, but Jacksonville, Bethune Cookman, Northwestern State, North Texas, Northern Colorado, Houston, and Idaho State, I think all cover the spread. Now, as you saw as we looked at the last two games, you see how I look at games, right? I did pull out two games and how we'll dive into this, but I just like to show you that so that way you kind of know why I would look at these particular teams and why I think that they're going to cover the spread. And the fact that they're possibly going to cover the spread brings the competitive part of this particular games. And this is why I think that they will, in fact, um, give us something worth looking at if you guys are looking for a game to watch. I mean, this is between 7 to 9 p.m. Um, I like all of these. I like Jacksonville to cover the spread and win by 3. I like Bethune Cookman to win by 5. They're coming in with a better record than their team, right? They're coming in, and Bethune Cookman is doing great in all the categories. Why wouldn't they? The only thing that they don't have on their side is that they don't have a better ranking in the conference with that third party I talked about. That third party identified their advantage and then literally they are able to come in with that advantage. But coming in at number 7 in their conference in the SWAC is somewhat troubling. But I think it's not going to be the thing that gets in the way. They don't have any injuries, whereas Jacksonville does. But it's going to be a game time decision for Jacksonville. I think that's what we're looking at. Northwestern State. They don't come in with a better record, but they do come in with um, an okay performance in regards to categories: shooting, 3 points, rebounds, assists, turnovers, all of the above. Right? They're doing somewhat okay, not highly dominant. Good conference. They do have one injury that's an issue, but they are arguably a number 5 team in that particular conference, but they're not a better conference ranking than their opponent. With that being said, I think if they are going to get the spread, and if they win the game, they're scoring over 70 points, and they blow out their competitor versus just barely winning by 1 point. I don't see them winning by just 1 point. And so for that, I like the spread. It's at -110. Most of these are um, at pretty good amounts, but I like them for that reason. North Texas coming in highly dominant. They are doing great in all the categories. They're playing at home. They win great at home, and on top of that, they got a better record than their opponent. Um, how do you not go with them? How? I don't know. Northern Colorado, same thing. How do you not go with Northern Colorado for the win and the spread? I like them to cover the 7.5. I like them to cover the 7.5, mainly because they are highly dominant in all the categories. They have a better record. They have the senior leadership. They have the junior leadership. They have a good coach. I don't see how this doesn't happen, but it could. I could be completely wrong, and I'm okay with that. Houston, same thing. The only thing that's tricky about Houston is that they come in with a better record, but they're not doing good in regards to each and every category. The Big 12 is a competitive conference, but they are considered maybe number 4 between their record and performance in their conference in the Big 12. But they're coming in this game with 2 major injuries. Okay. I think one of them is going to be game time decision. And do I like them to still cover the spread? It's a wild card. It's a wild card, but I do like them to cover the spread, even though it's a wild card. And -110, it's a risky one. Probably the most risky out of these two is going to be North Texas and Houston. Anything else I don't see as too risky. Um, Idaho State is probably another risky one. But the reason it's risky for me is because they're coming in and they don't have a better record than their opponent. They're not doing that good in all of the categories, but I do like to see them try to pull this out. Um, the number 6 in their conference, give or take. No injuries. That may be the one thing that's to their advantage, but I like them scoring over 70. Let's dive into these 2 games and really pull them apart before we get into the dogs. But let's look at these: Northern Colorado, Weber State. I mean, if you've been following me for a little second, you know how I pick games. Starting that, how they do, how do they win at home on the road? 60% on the road, right? Versus a team that's only winning 18% of their games at home. Do you want to choose them? No. um, Senior leadership is like eclipsing the upperclassmen at Weber State. I like that for the cohesiveness. They've been running the system. They're not going to change up. And they won all of the last 3 games. What do you do with that? I don't even got to go into all the categories. This is why I think that they'll cover the spread at 7.5. They're probably going to cover 10. And on top of that, they have some momentum coming into this. They've been playing better than they normally do on the average. I don't want to be Weber State and get embarrassed at home. I really, no, I wouldn't if I'm them. No injuries. I mean, both of them got, even with that being said, Blase Threat, I think is the name of this young man, and then Mr. Hawthorne. Weber has the advantage of the leading scorer, but is this young man going to put the whole team on their back? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that steady as she go for Colorado. They win this game. They cover the spread and probably cover the spread a little bit more than what we see. But the math says that it might be not close, but somewhat close. DR is for another source that I use to kind of calibrate how I'm looking at the games, and he even thinks that um, the game is going to be over 72 as well. But we will see. This is why they have to play Kansas and Houston. Okay, with Kansas and Houston, Kansas is more dominant. They're a better ranked team. It's a number 16 versus a number 43 team. Um, with that being said, probably the only thing that Houston has in their pocket is going to be their ability to win at home over Kansas winning on the road. That's the only thing that makes this tricky. I mean, if you're looking at it from that perspective, then you got to check off the other boxes of the injuries, right? Both teams only have injuries that are like accounting for 1 or 2 points. That's an easy sub out. Somebody on the bench got to be able to get you above 2 points. And these players may actually be game time decisions, and they end up coming back in. We don't know that yet, but when the lights come on, then we'll find out how that goes. But as it stands for their star players, Mr. Dickerson and Mr. Cryer, giving you 15 to 17 points. I mean, with that being said, that 17 points that Dickerson is giving them accounts for 31%, which means that they're going to be a low scoring game. Look at the math. Somebody that's giving you 18 points is only accounting for 23% of Northern Colorado versus somebody that's giving you 17 points, less points, and 31% contribution. They're a low scoring team. So Kansas defense is definitely going to have to come into this and do what it does, but Houston has a better defense. Houston may, in fact, use their defense to be the ones that be the deciding factor in this game. Do you take the -9.5 if and take Houston just because they have a better defense, but they lack in everything else? I don't know. I don't know. You make the decision, but I like it from an entertainment value perspective. This is at 9 o'clock. I'll be definitely sitting in front of this TV watching this game to see how it unfolds. But um, man, it's gonna be a nail biter. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. But I think we're going to enjoy that game. And here are the dogs. I got North Carolina Central at 7:30, and I got Northwestern at 9 o'clock. I will tell you why I think they're the dogs as I break down the games in very detailed manner. Because with the dogs, you're taking a slight risk. Okay, and with that risk, you just gotta make sure all the boxes are checked off. Okay. And we'll look at that. I mean, this is the MEAC and the Big Ten, two completely different conferences, but each team has their pros and cons. But let's look at how they size up to their competition, and then that might help us all figure out which way this game may go. So here we go. I probably need to get a sound effect for this part right here. Right? I need to get a sound effect, like get a little emoji or a little thing that makes noise and had a dog barking. Kind of corny, but maybe I'll get it just to keep corny, keep funny. Who knows? But anyway, looking at these games, Norfolk State versus North Carolina Central, I like Central to possibly pull this out only because I think they're being overlooked because of their last three games. They are an okay team or an okay enough team. Okay. And they are a team coming into this with winning 56% of their games at home, where Norfolk State is winning on the road 53% of their games. Most of the Central is it says 100% here, but the data is skewed. So when you dig a little bit deeper, they do have a considerable amount of seniors and juniors on their team. Some of the data from some of the conferences, um, They don't report a lot of it, so you have to dig a little bit deeper. But even though 100 is here, that's by default from the data pool in the filters. But when I dug a little bit deeper, it's more like around 60% for their upperclassmen. No team in history would have 100% upperclassmen, but in this case, it's more like 60%. They won 1 out of 3. I mean, some people would stay all the way away from this game, but I'm taking a deeper look into what they do and how they do it. I think if they do win this game, it's because their offense really, really like brings them in it and they outscore Norfolk State. Maybe, maybe. Okay. Other than that, I mean, they're a better team with moving the ball around with assists, so maybe they keep this fast-paced game, move the ball around, and score like they normally do. They also are great when it comes to actually getting the ball in the hoop. Their field goal attempts is also good. I just think that because of that, they're going to take more shots. They're going to move the ball around, and on top of that, they're going to, tap into that home court advantage. For those things alone. I like it. And then on top of that, they have actually been on a momentum in the right way. And then the math says that they're really good. There's no injuries in this game, but the math says that they are the winner chicken dinner. The percentages don't say that because the percentages are going off of balancing. It's like the extra balancer, but the data says that it's a 76-78 game. You saw the record. For how when I'm looking at the data and how my math reacts to whether or not the points that are going to actually be made for the individual teams. If I gotta if I gotta use that to correlate against what this game may look like, I think both teams are going to score over 73 points, 75 points. It's a nail biter all the way down to the end. I like the spread on this particular one, and if I do anything, I go with North Carolina Central for the plus 5.5 on the spread because it gives you that cushion. And because it gives you that cushion, you kind of have a sense of ease because it's like even even if Central loses, which they may, there's a possibility that they might. So 42%, a 33%, and a 50% chance that they lose. I'm looking at these games from multiple dimensions, like literally from a quantum perspective in multiple dimensions. Like there's like 13 different ways that every game can go. I'm trying to figure out which ones they are and find commonality in all those particular different ways to help me understand what game I'm possibly going to look at. I can't predict the future. I don't have a crystal ball, but there are key factors that will lead us to think a certain way. And with this one, North Carolina Central can lose, but even if they lose, I think they take it down in their dogfight to the very end and they at least cover the plus 5.5. UCLA Northwestern. What I see in this game is I see a team that is on the road, UCLA, and they're having trouble at least winning half of their games on the road. And not to mention, they also have only won 1 out of 3. They got some seniors and nice upperclassmen. I don't know what they're dealing with mentally. Maybe it's some stuff going on campus or something in their personal lives that they can't just like kind of band together. Maybe I'm completely wrong because I don't know these young men individually or personally. However, I'm just speculating and using my imagination and my intuition, right? But they're up against a team that has won all their games of the last 3, Northwestern. 62% of their squad are upperclassmen, so the cohesiveness and the leadership and the discipline is there. And on top of that, they won 75% of their games at home. I don't know if I'm UCLA, I want to walk into that, especially with the injuries they have. There's a lot of injuries with UCLA, and I think that's what the books are missing is the injuries, and they're not taking into account some other factors. And with that, I think Northwestern is a sleeper in this particular one. I could be completely wrong. Completely wrong. There's a guy that I watch and he uses a phrase that says, fade me. I'm gonna give you the same advice. Fade me. Get in the comment. Tell me not only tell me who you think was win, tell me why. It gives me more to look into. I could be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. You don't always gotta be right. Step out of your pride, step out of your ego, and deal with the subject matter, right? I think that there's a path for Northwestern to win this game because of the math, because of the injuries, because of the winning tendencies at home and their last three, and how they just perform. They're good enough. Because of those things, that's why I'm leaning that way. That's why I'm willing to take the plus 3.5, even if it's a nail biter and it comes down to fourth quarter and we thinking it might be overtime. This is the game. This is one version of the way I see it. And then I also do see another way. But I think it's highly unlikely that UCLA blows them out. Only because of the injuries, you have to take into account what injuries is. With an injury in college basketball, they do not have a deep bench. None of the teams. They play with what they have. This is not NBA. Okay. And with that reality, they don't have someone that can be an even swap. Look at the injuries that they have, right? Northwestern has a guy that is a guard contributing to 17 points, right? Versus a forward that is their lead scorer, right? And he's giving them two. But if Mr. What's his name, Barnheiser, if he actually does play in his game time decision, then nothing to worry about. I think that's where the book is getting it wrong, and they're like, yeah, well, this guy's that's giving them 17 is possibly hurt. They don't know if he's going to be game time, but I like him because I think he is going to be a game time decision. I could be wrong. He might be out for the night, but if he does play with all the injuries that UCLA has, I see a path. I see a path to victory for Northwestern. We will see. And again, I don't have an ego. I don't have pride. There's only what is right and wrong for me. There's nothing personal about any of this for me. I don't have a personal NCAA team. The only team that's important to me is the one that keeps me interested in the game for entertainment value. And if I put a couple coins on the game, then they're going to win me some money. After that, I'm on to the next team, period. It's never anything personal. It's never even me pounding on my chest to say I have a really good record. When I have a good record, I have a good record. When I have a bad record, I have a bad record. But I'm not telling you that you should follow me or watch me or anything because I'm the guy, because I'm not. There's 1,000 other people you can watch to get this particular type of analytical overview. I'm just happy you're here to see mine. And hopefully you give me yours as well. But this is how I see the dogs for the night. Going to be interesting. So as always, I hope that you guys enjoyed the show. I hope I added some value on for you guys, ladies and gentlemen that are watching the show. And let's see what we got tonight. I think we got some entertainment. I know it's not a lot of games. We will get back to the eventually. Like I said, we are in the realm. I smell March Madness is here. We're about to be all the way up to our eyeballs in it. A lot of different prospects, a lot of different contenders. I don't know if it's who we think it's going to be. Right now, Duke is looking amazing. Amazing. But that don't mean that they're gonna win it all, right? Anything can happen. This is why they gotta play. But anyway, I will quit running my mouth now. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And if you did find value, please like, comment, share, or subscribe so that we can continue to grow the channel and help those that we are trying to help understand the game better. So you hope you guys enjoy the game tonight, and I will see you on the next show.
Lights on, game time, let's break it all down. From the spreads to the lines, who's up, who's down. We're crunching the numbers, calling the plays, talking all sports in a big time way.